Hello, welcome to Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. I'm your host, Karen Seltz. So excited that you've joined me tonight. So today we are going to dive into, this is honestly the most effective self-coaching tool that I've ever seen. And I learned it recently from my business coach, James Wedmore. He's into all kinds of woo like I am, quantum physics, all of the things. And this just struck me as so useful and so true. And I thought, you know what? Everybody needs to know this because we all experience emotions and many of us are trying to run from them and experience something else. Or sometimes we're judging them like, I'm feeling sad, so that's bad, or unwanted, and I don't like it. I had a conversation with my daughter about this very thing today about crying. She's like, I never cry except in therapy. And I'm like, well, I cry a lot. She's like, you do? I said, yeah, well, not a lot, but frequently. And for many, many years, I would run from emotions. I didn't want to feel angry. I didn't want to feel sad. So I would numb them with different things. It could have been food, alcohol, not alcohol. What am I talking about? I've never been a drinker, but it could have been shopping, sex, sugar, anything like that. And some people do use things like alcohol, video games, work, exercise, and we all have our go-tos, our go-to numbers. And this tool is going to support you so much in really identifying what stories you're believing, what are the beliefs behind the emotions. And I'm going to back up a little bit. Many, many years ago, I was reading some books by Esther Hicks or Abraham Hicks, and she introduced this concept or this tool called the emotional guidance scale. And things at the top are like unconditional love, joy, oneness, unity. Things at the bottom are depression, despair, hopelessness. And then there's everything in between, like anger, I think is 7 higher than despair. So when you start, if you're in despair, if you start to feel angry, that's actually an upgrade, believe it or not. So there are what we consider to be positive emotions that are above a certain level, and she calls it frequency because they all vibrate, and this is measurable by science. And there are some above and some below the midline, right? And we would classify them as positive or negative. So James Wedmore's spin on this is so freaking brilliant. I can't even believe it. I can't even believe it. So he's saying, how about if you feel an emotion, when you feel an emotion, say you consider it to be negative or unwanted, what if that simply meant that it's not true for you? It's a lie. Whatever story you're believing, whatever belief that's underneath it is not true for you. And it is your higher power, God, universe, spirit's way of like waking you up. It's creating pain, saying move away from that story. In the analogy that he used, I get to use because I have a fake fireplace behind me. But if you get your hand close to a fire, you're going to feel pain, right? Ow. And that pain is really a gift saying, move your hand in another direction, move away from the fire. So what if the negative emotion was your higher power's way of saying, move away from that belief? And that's it. And anytime you feel a positive emotion, that just simply means it's true for you. Wow. Like for me, that was a major light bulb moment. And I've done a lot of things like muscle checking. And when things are true for us, like I'll show you, for example, the sway test. So it could be something simple like my name is Karen. So if I turn sideways and I say, my name is Karen, my body will naturally fall forward, which means go for it. Yes, it's a yes. And if I say like, show me a yes, a full body yes, my body will just go forward. Show me a full body no. So I go backward. My name is Sarah. No, my name's not Sarah. So try that, play with it. And you can use it with your emotions. Your body is a beautiful lie detector. When you're feeling something positive, a positive emotion, there is a belief underneath it. There is a story underneath it. Same goes for when you're feeling something negative. So if I'm feeling angry or frustrated, for example, what am I believing? Something got triggered in me, and I'm believing something, some story about the world, about the people in the world, or about myself, or all of them at the same time. So I'm going to give you some examples as we go along, and I invite you to play along with me. If you are willing, grab a notebook and let's rock and roll, because this is something that is going to serve you forever and ever if you use it. My invitation is to make it a daily practice. So the first thing that I want you to do is to identify a situation recently where you got triggered and you felt like some kind of a negative emotion, sadness, depression, anger, frustration, irritation. It doesn't matter what it was. So once you have that, I'm going to share with you mine. So I'm just going to use a recent situation. I live in Arizona and my kids recently went back to school. And I took my daughters to the store to buy their school supplies. And ahead of time, I asked both of them separately to make lists of what they needed. One of my daughters did and one didn't. And when we got home, we were just pulling in the garage. And the one that didn't make the list says, "Oh my gosh, you forgot to remind me to buy a lock for PE." And I'm like, oh, interesting. So immediately I felt defensive. I felt a little angry and a lot self-righteous. So my story underneath those emotions was, I'm right because I told you to make a list. I'm not responsible for that. You're 14 years old, like all the things, right? Like the parental, like, you should. All those stories are coming up and I'm like, I'm getting ready to fight, right? I'm mounting my defense. I'm like, all right, so this point, I'm right here, I'm right here, I'm right here. And, of course, I'm going to find evidence for why I'm right, because that's what we do. We're always going to find evidence that we're right about whatever we're believing. And it still left me with the anger. So what's the situation? What are the emotions? And then, this is so cool. What is the lie that I am choosing to believe? That my higher power, God, universe, spirit, refuses to hold true for me. What is the lie? And the lie is what? That I'm right, which would mean that she's wrong, that I'm separate, that I'm better than her, which would mean that I'm separate. Like all of them mean that I'm separate, essentially. Or that the situation's not perfect the way it is, that I think I know what's best. There's a zillion lies in there. And they're all causing me to be angry, right? The end result of that belief of being right, attaching to it, or being a victim, like she's attacking me because she was yelling at me and blaming me, right? Thinking that it's even remotely possible for me to be a victim is a lie. So let's backtrack. All right, number one, what's the situation that triggered you? What was the situation, and what was the emotion that came up? So that's number one. Number two is, what was the story or belief that you were believing that created the emotion? So you can work backward from there. And then number three, what is the lie that you are believing that God, universe, spirit refuses to hold true for you? Because remember, going back to the positive and negative emotions, if something is true for you, you're going to experience it as a positive emotion. If something's not true for you, or if it's a lie for you, you will experience it as a negative emotion. So what's the lie that you're believing? So my lie was that I was separate, essentially, or that I was right, which essentially means I'm separate. Okay. So number four is, what is true then? So I can go back to my philosophy, and my real true beliefs are that there is no separation. We are all connected. There are no mistakes in God's world. There are no mistakes. It's impossible for this situation to be a mistake. It's impossible. And when I can like feel into that, like I am one with my daughter, we are the same. I'm not better than her. I'm not worse than her. We're the same. We share one mind. We share one heart. I share a mind and a heart with God. When I can rest in that truth, what do you think happens to my emotional state? If you were looking at that emotional guidance scale, I'm feeling oneness. I'm feeling unity, which is at the top. And then how does that feel? Positive or negative? Well, positive, let me tell you. And it is that quick. And Abraham Hicks says, look at your emotions as your barometer. It's like, okay, what am I feeling? And then you can look at your beliefs and your stories. So this tool, I think, is so, oh God, I just love it so much. I love it. And I hope that you guys will use it. I really wanted to take somebody through this exercise at some point. So if you ever want to play, DM me, we'll do this. Another thing that Dr. Joe Dispenza says all the time is where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So let's go back to the situation. So I pull in the garage, my daughter starts yelling at me. Where's my attention? Well, it was really, honestly, I'm being right. It was like self-preservation and being right. All right, so where's my energy go? All toward finding a solution, finding evidence, really, not a solution, finding evidence for how I'm right. Whereas if I were believing the truth, which is we're all one, we're all connected, there are no mistakes in God's world, where do you think my attention would have gone? And my energy on creating a solution and using it as a teaching moment instead of a, I told you so and I'm right and you're stupid and you're wrong, and which hopefully I didn't say. I didn't say that, but you know what I mean. Children are smart. Everybody's smart. We all pick up what people are putting down, whether they want us to or not. So think about that. How much energy really are you wasting on these negative emotions? How much time are you spending there? How much real estate are they taking up in your head? And this is a practice. Like you get to hone it. You get to sit with it. You get to be with it. And I always I love this take on it. Like, what is the lie? What is the lie I'm choosing to believe that my higher power refuses to let me? Because it's like, take your hand away from the flame, Karen. Take your hand away from the flame. It hurts. Step away from the angry emotion. Step away from the story that's creating the anger and the self-righteousness. Step away. Step away. So I'm going to recap that and then we'll move on. So if you want to do this exercise, really start checking in all the time, continuously. What am I feeling? What am I feeling? What am I feeling? And then if it's anything that you consider to be negative or unwanted, you're going to go to what is the story or belief that is creating this emotion? Because there will be one. And a belief is simply a thought that you've thought over and over and over again, a thought that you've continued to think, and you've hardwired it. And you no longer look at it as a belief. It seems like a fact. When in the middle of the word belief is L-I-E. What does that spell? Lie. Yeah. Right in the middle of belief is the word lie, which is another brilliant thing that James Wedmore taught me. So when you look at your beliefs, what are they based on? Are they even current? Do they match up with your current paradigm? Because most of them are formed before your logical mind is formed, and we just take on meaning. We make meaning out of things when we're little We're little, and our brains are undeveloped. And we hold those as truths about the world, about life, about God, the universe, human nature. Like, people are dangerous. Like, think about stranger danger that little kids, a lot of little children learn, don't talk to strangers. Well, what happens if you go into sales or you're in entrepreneur? Are you going to hold on to that belief? Are you going to hold it and say, oh, I can't talk to you because you're a stranger? Well, everybody was once a stranger. Everybody, your spouse, your partner, your children, they were all strangers at one point. So it's like tweaking those beliefs as we go. Or you remember when you found out that Santa Claus was your parents? That used to be a belief that Santa Claus was real. And yeah, I believe in magic and all kinds of things. But did you ever find your Christmas gifts hidden somewhere, or your letters to Santa? I mean, that's happened to a lot of people that I know of. Or, somebody in school told you and you went and asked your parents or your siblings if Santa was real. And you found out and you're like, oh, well, that belief doesn't work anymore. I'm going to go put it on the shelf. It doesn't belong in my current paradigm. Well, how many of those unexamined beliefs are you still carrying around? And those are what create these emotions that may not be wanted. So here's your opportunity to really look at them and say, do I want to go around being angry a lot? Or do I want to go around being sad? Or do I want to go around being a victim, which creates these feelings of hopelessness? Do I want to feel that? If not, what's the belief or story underneath it? And what is the lie? What is the lie I am believing that God refuses? Refuses. I love that. Refuses to let me hold on to. It's like poking. God's poking you. No. Hey, get your hand away from the flame. It's not true for you. It's not true for you. Turn left instead of right. Go the other way. So you get to have fun with it. And then what is true? And I love to write down, like, what are some fundamental truths that you believe that are always true? And these are not things that will ever change. And I mean across lifetime. So it's not like I am a woman, I am a Democrat, I'm a Republican. It's none of that stuff. I'm a mother, I'm a sister. No, it's I am as I was created. I am perfect just the way I am. I am lovable. I am loved. I'm loving. I am love. I am worthy. I am precious. I am God. I am that one. I am Christ consciousness. Whatever. I am my brother are one. I am my sister are one. I am God. I'm one. Whatever's true for you, I invite you to step into it and write those down, because as human beings, guess what? We have a tendency to forget. My daughter, when she was little, she said, Mom, you're such a good forgetter. I love that. One of my superpowers, forgetting. Yeah, I used to manage a lot of things not very well. So remember the truth of who you are. If you don't remember, go to your list. Who are you? What's always true? Always. And one of my favorite tools for that, I've said it for many, many years, is God, your higher power, universe, spirit, is always only 3 breaths away. 3 breaths away. So when your intention is to connect with God, slow it down and have the intention in your mind, like, I'm connecting with God, universe, spirit, my higher self. I don't care what you call it. I really don't. And when you take those slow, deliberate breaths, there's something that happens in just 3 breaths, and it's so fast. It's so fast. And I love that. I love that I can be all angry and hairy and thinking that I'm unworthy. And then 3 breaths later, I'm like, oh my gosh, That's not who I am. That's never who I was. Never. I have all power under the sun that's been granted to me. Everything is available to me. Every thought someone thinks is available to me. Every emotion, under the whole spectrum of emotions is available to me right now. I get to make a choice. I am the creator of my life. I am the author, the uncontested author. Nobody else gets to write my story. No, I'm in charge. I'm the boss. And that's the other thing too. Like when these emotions come up, it's not like denying them, but it's questioning them because the ego never questions itself. It's like, okay, yes, I believe you. Yes, I'm a piece of crap, or yes, I'm better than her, or yes, I'm worse than him, whatever it is. The ego never questions itself. So when you look at these, whatever emotions, I like to ask myself many times, like, what else is possible for me? Is it possible in the quantum field where there are infinite potentials? Surely there is a possibility for me to feel joy right now. Surely there is. And if I can tune my energy, if I can tune my thoughts to joy and think one joyful thought, and this is very simple. Think about a time that you felt joy. That's it. Think about a time you felt joy. What was going on? Who was there? Feel it in your body. Just like allow yourself to daydream or night dream or whatever you want to call it. And feel it in your body. And then say, oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you. I know how to feel joy. So you can tune to an emotion, the frequency of that emotion, by remembering a time that you've experienced it. That's it. That's it. And you keep doing that. Fire and wire those synapses in your brain, those connections. Just keep thinking, okay, when else did I experience joy? Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. Then, on my 6th birthday, when I got that easy bake oven that I wanted for so long, I felt so joyful and so happy. I felt seen. I felt respected. I felt loved. And I couldn't wait to bake those cookies or those brownies or whatever it was. When in my life did I feel proud of my accomplishments? And for many years, I couldn't even remember any of these. But dang, I graduated from the University of Michigan on the dean's list with honors. Like what? A girl from a small town, like first person in my family, like of my cousins, there were 30 something of us first cousins to graduate from college. And I was like, wow. I mean, and I just thought it was normal because it was kind of expected of me. But my older brothers didn't go to college. I was the first one, but it was just always expected. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. I graduated from college. Big deal. Of course I get good grades. That's who I am. And I never took the time to really like celebrate myself and say, wow, I was really proud. Everybody was proud of me that I graduated from college, not just college, but a really good school and with really good grades. So it's little things like that. Or I was proud when I made the decision to divorce my ex-husband. I was really proud of myself for many reasons. Like I didn't second guess myself. I did what was best for me. I did what was best for my family, for my girls. I mean, there are lots of those situations. So if you go through your life and think of when you experienced the emotions that you want to experience on a regular basis, and just mentally rehearse them. Because there's so much research that's been done on mental rehearsing that your subconscious mind, it's always present, number one. It's always thinking and that whatever you're experiencing is happening right now, which is why PTSD happens. And I know I'm digressing, but when we get triggered by a situation and we're like fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous system gets turned on and like, fight, flight, or freeze gets activated. It's because the subconscious mind thinks that event is happening right now. The original offender, maybe it was 30 years ago. And fight, flight, or freeze is calling for an action now. Well, the problem is you can't do anything about something that happened 30 years ago. So you get stuck there. So the subconscious mind is always in the present tense. which you can use to your advantage when you're doing the opposite. So when you think about a joyful situation or one that, where you felt happy or pride or love, gratitude, your subconscious mind thinks it's happening right now. It does not know the difference. It doesn't know that it was in the past because it doesn't know the past exists. So use it to your advantage. Think about what you want to experience now and when in your life have you ever experienced it. And you can use it the opposite way too. When you're thinking about things that you want in the future, you can imagine what you're going to feel like when they happen and experience those feelings now. Because unless you do, they're not coming. They're not coming. So you get to experience the event and the emotions ahead of the event in order to draw it to you. That's the quick way. That's the quickest way to get there. And I invite you to do that. I invite you to live in joy because it is your birthright to be joyful. It is your birthright to be abundant. It is your birthright to be happy and passionate and loving. And when you are those things, you create this ripple effect around you because the heart has a very large electromagnetic field. It goes out 9 to 12 meters, and it affects all of those people around you in your orbit. And I believe it goes further than that because energy healing can take place across continents. So I believe, when you think a thought and you feel an emotion, that it reaches the intended target, whoever it is. So how about you think a loving thought about yourself? How about that? How does that feel? Try that on. Let's recap. So your tool is to really notice your emotions all the time. Okay, so just drop in and some people notice them in their bodies. What am I feeling? And then number 2, what's a story or belief that is causing that emotion to happen? Number 3, what's the lie I'm believing that God refuses to hold true for me? Number 4, what is true? What is the truth? And then number 5, how does that feel? And if it feels good, then guess what? Remember, it's true for you. It's true. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. I'm so grateful that you joined me. I will see you right here next week. Bye.